Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Screeny. With thousands of items being bought by the pawn shop every year, it's no surprise Rick and his team have made some not-so-smart decisions. From losing $30,000 on fake diamonds to a controversy that would end an entire career, here are times the Pawn Stars experts got it wrong. Before we begin, make sure to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more amazing videos about your favorite movies and TV shows. Number 10. Shoeless Joe Jackson signed a book. Despite his early departure from baseball, Shoeless Joe Jackson was one of the greatest outfielders of all time. Of course, he was expelled from playing while in his prime, due to the Black Sox scandal of 1919. However, this only made Shoeless Joe more legendary in the eyes of America, hence his signature and historic items being of incredible value. This brings us to a man who entered the pawn shop truly unaware of what he had in front of him, a signed book by Shoeless Joe himself. The man was so oblivious to the item's significance that he described Shoeless Joe as the man who played a game of baseball with no shoes. Rick obviously wanted to get his hands on this particular piece immediately, so without calling in an expert to evaluate the item's authenticity, Rick offered the man $13,000 up front.
I mean, ask for $1 more, you can just pick the book up and leave. But I'll go $13,000. If you do that, I'll do it. So.
Okay, let's do it.
All right, deal, man.
Great.
A few episodes later, Rick went to Rebecca, the all-means book nerd, to validify the item's credibility, and here's what she said.
I'm not convinced that it's real. If you can get the consensus of the community, then you would still be good to go.
Rick didn't want to believe it, so he filed an official consensus with the community to determine 100% if it was real or not.
Several factors became apparent during our thorough examination that prevented us from certifying the autographs, which means it's fake.
Ouch, that's $13,000 down the drain. Number 9. Fake Napoleon signed letter. With Napoleon being dead for almost 200 years now, it's pretty rare for people to find items holding his remnants or signatures on it. That is until a man entered the pawn shop with a signed letter by the one and only Napoleon. These letters were actually given to all of Napoleon's soldiers all over Europe to inform them of what was going on in regards to their country. There were even some of these that were signed in the middle of the battlefield. The seller initially wanted $4,000 for the item, but Corey managed to drop the price down to $2,000.
You know what, I didn't pay that much for it, so let's do it.
Unfortunately, Corey completely forgot to get the item assessed and ended up having to get it checked out after already buying it.
So what we've got here is very clearly a replica of a very important document. Can't say that this is worth very much as a historical artifact.
I sure hope Corey learned his lesson from this one. Number 8. Steve GRAD controversy. You guys probably know Steve GRAD in one way or another if you've watched Pawn Stars throughout the years. He's actually a professional authenticator who was hired by the show back in 2013. As of recently, however, Steve GRAD is a controversial figure, and the internet doesn't feel too good when he does, well, anything for that matter. Being an authenticator, you have the duty and responsibility to authenticate signatures that are real and real only. However, a few years back, Steve GRAD authenticated forged signatures knowingly to assist in someone making hundreds of thousands of dollars. The Pawn Stars team didn't know about Steve's willingness to provide false information, and it was uncovered that Steve lied on multiple occasions while on the show in favor of the pawn shop, valuing sellers' authentic items for cheaper. The Pawn Stars team definitely got it wrong in this case. Number 7. Signed Kobe Bryant jersey. On January 20th, 2020, the world lost an icon. Not only was Kobe one of the greatest basketball players, he was one of the most influential and deserving role models in all of history. Of course, with an early death and incredible life comes value in everything that lives on beyond the man's time. You see, in 2017, just 3 years before Kobe's passing, a man presented to the pawn shop a Kobe Bryant 2010 NBA Finals warm-up jersey.
You know, even if you're not a Kobe fan, you gotta appreciate what Kobe did. I mean, he's one of the greatest players of all time and played for the same team his entire career. I mean, that just doesn't happen anymore.
The item was equipped with a certificate of authenticity to show that it was indeed once Kobe's. So you're probably wondering, where did the team go wrong with this? Well, they turned down the jersey for $10,000, thinking they wouldn't be able to upsell. However, as of 2020, the jersey is no doubtedly worth over $200,000. Rick and Chumley are probably kicking themselves knowing that they passed on this offer. Number 6. Comic book collection. There's no doubt that taking a risk in business is the best way to achieve those big paychecks. However, things didn't work out so well when Chumlee paid $500 for a comic book collection. You see, the seller said she didn't have the time or knowledge required to sort out through the comics, so she was unsure what exactly was in there. Chum went through with the purchase in hopes of finding some original pieces.
They're from the Bronze Age of comics, and bronze is only 2 steps away from gold. And there's 7 boxes of these babies. Sometimes you can just feel the deal.
All the books were sorted through by the team, and the entire collection was underwhelming to say the least.
So you spent $500 on some comic books I'll be lucky to get like $180 out of, so they're basically worthless.
Number 5. Gibson Mandolin. Nowadays, vintage Gibson mandolins are extremely valuable historic instruments, being manufactured over 100 years ago. Rick is no stranger to these instruments also. In fact, he loves them.
Gibson mandolins are sweet. We had a lady bring one in from the early 1900s, and Rick practically drooled all over it.
Earlier in 2018, Chum managed to get his hands on one for just $1,500 and was extremely proud of his new buy.
Put another one in the wing column for Chumlee. Rick's probably gonna give me a raise after he sees this.
Immediately after his purchase, Chum sees an expert and is given the bad news that the Gibson mandolin is indeed a fake. The mandolin held no historical value and wasn't even manufactured by Gibson. Chum wasn't too happy with this result.
I just paid $1,500 for that.
Ouch.
Is it worth anything?
Yeah, maybe about $100.
Number 4. Willie Mays baseball uniform. Arguably one of the greatest baseball players to ever live, Willie Mays has had a legendary sporting career. Despite still being alive, items in relation to Willie's career are still worth loads of money, considering his last game was 50 years ago. The historical aspect is indeed still there, and this is seen when a man walks into the pawn shop with a Willie Mays baseball uniform.
This is amazing, man. I mean, there's very few guys in the world that can compare to him in that sport. Definitely in the top 10 of baseball players of all time.
The man mentioned that his uncle had seized the item during the 60s, and after passing, his wife gifted the uniform to the seller. Corey and Chum called in a professional to take a look at the piece, and the expert ended up valuing the item at $35,000 to $40,000. After a few back and forths, Corey ended up purchasing the piece for $30,000. Pawn Stars were expecting to make crazy profits off this thing. However, after 2 years of auctioning, the item never sold. The team ended up selling it for $20,000 just to get rid of the thing. Weeks later, a new evaluation of the item was conducted, and it turns out it was just a sample of the uniform, never even been worn by Willie Mays, valuing it at just $2,000. Sure, the pawn shop lost 10 grand, but it could have been a whole lot worse. Number 3. Fake Rolexes. When Corey was an 18-year-old kid, he was new to the job and started taking on a few night shifts from time to time. He had little knowledge in selling and little knowledge in pricing. Despite this, Corey thought it would be a good idea to buy 6 Rolexes in 1 week. This might have been a good move if all of them weren't fakes. That's right, every single one of the Rolexes weren't real, and only estimated a value of $100 each. Unfortunately, Corey found this out after spending over $4,000 on the items. Number 2. Fake diamond De Beers. Here's a time when someone of experience messed up, and real bad. We're not talking about Chumlee or Corey or even Rick. We're talking about Richard Harrison. This mistake occurred over 10 years ago when cubic zirconium was first hitting the market. For those who don't know, cubic zirconium was a cheaper alternative to diamonds, as they held no value in money. However, they appeared positive as diamonds through testing. Who wouldn't purchase a load of cheap diamonds that tested positive? Well, Richard certainly would, and he did. He spent $30,000 on these fake diamonds. He later referred to the incident as a lesson learned. Number 1. Youth Indian Vest. To finish this list, we have an Indian vest from the 1890s, used commonly in Indian celebrations. Its condition was great, and the fact it was over 120 years old fascinated Rick into buying the item for $1,300. Of course, Rick later took it to a professional, and the expert ended up stating it was indeed a fake.
From looking at the beadwork, it looks to be Sioux, or it's Northern Plains beadwork. Unfortunately, I don't think this is from that time period.
Here, it's Mark Hall patent. That Indian vest you bought is actually real. Really? Hey, Mark, what's up?
Nope.
Thank you for watching today's video. Make sure to subscribe to our channel for more videos on your favorite TV shows and tap one of the 2 videos on screen for another amazing video.